Garrett Blevins here with an overview of 2 weeks. This is weeks 8 and 9. Didn't record a lot from 9, and you'll see why as the video goes on. But week 8, I finally ran into it. Some of you may already know, but I am now a father and am dealing with some of those new recovery issues that come along with that, namely lack of sleep and just additional stresses in life and those sorts of things that come up with having a baby. I've talked with both my coach at TSA, Hanny, as well as just real briefly with Mike Tashir of RTS. But pretty much everybody knows the first year you have a baby, it's going to change your training around a little bit. You're going to have to change the way that you do things, and based on my coach Hanny's recommendations, I'll probably be cutting the volume down dramatically and changing maybe even the way I train altogether. I might be going back a little bit more to the kind of kingpin RTS split that I used to do, which is much lower volume. It's also set amounts of volume where the back off work is determined ahead of time and all that sort of stuff, as opposed to a completely RTS sort of split where I shouldn't say RTS split, I should just say auto-regulated split. Um, RTS doesn't always do that as part of their coaching. So regardless, I may get away from the work that I do now only because it can just run me down a little bit too much, and I am so used to training with higher volumes that even when I'm using moderate volume, I feel like it's low volume. And I think just writing it in and actually getting ahead of some of the fatigue is going to be helpful for me moving forward. At the most, I hope to maintain my strength and not lose it. This last week was pretty abysmal. This day here was probably, no, I had one more semi-good day, but I really started to feel it. 585 on sumo there moved really slow. Though this 645 moved quite a bit better. But I did this next week, I don't have it in this video, but missed 655 twice. And it was with straps, and I had missed groove 635 the rep before, but regardless, 655 should be a weight that I can hit any day of the week no matter what. And so to miss that the week after this was kind of disappointing. However, I want you to know that and watch this rep. Pretty fast. I mean, a little bit of hip rise out of the bottom. Form needs to be worked on. Still, I have that problem continuously. But you don't just all of a sudden lose all your strength out of nowhere. You may have good weeks, you may have bad weeks. But really the main thrust of this video is strength just doesn't disappear. Your muscle just isn't going to just fly off your body and you're just all of a sudden going to become weaker. Everybody has those times when their strength goes up and down. And it's tough when you're in a period where your strength is going down, but just 1 week like that doesn't really amount to anything. For me though, I've been using, RTS has Track, which is available to people even not on their programs. It's really inexpensive, and I would advise anybody to get on that and use it for your own training. I also recently finally broke down and got a smartphone, so I'm using a heart rate variation tracker there as well. But long story short, my fatigue and my strength levels have been declining over the past 3 weeks, and even though the weights have been increasing, the RPEs have not been matching what they should be. This set here was really the set that told me things were not going so well. And it's not an awful set. I mean, it's not terrible. 620 for 3 is pretty good. That's kind of actually close to some of my rep PRs. But it really felt hard. And it felt harder probably than the 8.5 that I gave it based off bar speed. It moves good, but it felt terrible. And that subjective rating of how things feel is also important, not just bar speed. Especially for somebody like myself who's an explosive squatter, the bar always is moving fast until I kind of don't move at all. And I'm trying to learn how to grind weights out and do a little bit better at that. But that's just not something I'm very proficient at. And so that comes into play when I'm trying to rate RPEs. Regardless, kind of the way I was saying before, you're not going to lose your strength. And I haven't lost all my strength. Just a few weeks ago, maybe like 5 or 6, I was hitting in the 575, 585 bench range, and now I'm down around the 550, 560 range. But my body composition hasn't changed dramatically. I have lost some weight, actually about 12 pounds or so in that time, a little bit faster than I wanted to. But when strength is down like this, it's usually because of some recovery issues. and things that can change, and your strength will like show up out of nowhere all of a sudden again. And that's something to remember in your training. Um, that you need to not freak out and change everything and completely restructure your life unless there's a good reason to. And I'm giving that advice of not restructuring as I'm thinking about restructuring because there have been major changes in my life. The addition of a little baby girl to take care of is a huge, huge change in my life and the way that I think and the way that I train. Um, it's hard to train out in the garage when I want to be inside with my family. I don't want to miss out on things when we're doing things together or miss out on those moments. And if that means I have to spend a little bit less time on a hobby that I enjoy, that's what I'm going to do. There have been other people, other example of lifters who haven't done that, who have really kind of compromised their responsibilities or their care for other people so that they can focus on this. And sometimes that's part of the plan. Um, I remember Stan Efferding mentioned that him and his girlfriend would talk about it, and if he was going to go in and plan for another big show or another powerlifting meet, they knew he was going to have to be selfish during that time. He was going to have to take naps. He was going to have to eat and rest and not be stressed out and spend a lot of time training and all those things. That was a requirement. And it's great to agree on that and make sure that you're right in all your relationships and everybody kind of knows what's going on. And for me, I just don't feel like now is the time to focus entirely on training. I'm not going to quit training or anything like that, but I'm definitely going to pull my foot back off the gas because I don't want to do what is necessary to recover. I don't want to go in and take naps and not be around my child and not be there. It's not important enough to me to do that. And so after a few years, when sleep schedules are better, I might have opportunities to come back to the training and hit it really hard and try to really push it. But for right now, I'm just going to kind of go with the flow and take it as it is. And that's part of what life is like. Some people watching this channel are older and have been through this already and have given some really good words of advice. Others are much younger. Maybe you're just getting out of high school or still in high school and this stuff doesn't make sense to you. You'll get there. And when you get a job, the first job that you get, your first 9 to 5 or whatever, that's going to be a big change for you in your life and how you train. And you have to adapt to that. But it doesn't mean you have to stop. It doesn't mean you have to quit. But it does mean that you need to think about your priorities and what is most important to you. And what's most important, period. Sometimes things that seem really important to us, we might know are not really the most important. And so we have to assess those sorts of things. You'll see here finishing out 425 for 3. Not my best ever, but got it done. Now, that said, I may be on YouTube a little bit less, but I also may be on Instagram a little bit more. So if you're not already following me, look there. I'll probably put up lifting footage and just some of the lifts that I'm doing here and there on Instagram. If I can find time to sit down and put some of these videos out, I will. But honestly, I would like to kind of put a little bit more of the lifting clips through Instagram and that platform, and maybe try to put some more quality content out, maybe with instructional videos or programming stuff, things of that nature that I've done before on YouTube. I have no idea if I'm going to have time for that, but that's one thing. The other is, I would like, if you're watching this video and you've stuck around to the Bible section here, write down in the comments below what you would like me to talk about. I have been studying lots of interesting things, and I'm going into a class that is devoted to Revelation here coming up over the summer. But as I study things, I get excited about them and like to talk about them. But sometimes it can be a little less relevant for people out there. And so if you have any questions, and especially those of you who are not Christians, if you have any questions about Christianity, feel free to ask. As long as it's respectful, I really think you can ask about anything. There's a lot of weird stuff that's happened out of Christianity. You may have some questions that you might think would anger Christians and they don't want to respond to or something like that, but I'm more than happy to have you ask any question you would like to ask, and I'll see if I can answer them to the best of my ability. So I want people, put it out there. If you'd like me to talk about something, or if you've been curious about something, or you just don't understand why Christians do certain things that Christians do, I'll talk about that, because there's a lot of different types of Christians, as I've mentioned before, and a lot of people live their faith out very differently. That said, I wanted to kind of finish up this final video. This is coming out of an ethics class on Christianity that I had with some really good books and information. Really enjoyed it. Have a lot of thinking and considerations still to come on the ethics front, but I know at least one thing that came out of the class that was very important, which is the need to hear other people. And I think James gets at this really well when he says this, that know this, my beloved brothers and sisters, let every person be quick to hear. Quick to hear. I just don't think we're quick to hear that often anymore. I think we're so quick to speak, so quick to judge, so quick to see a situation and assess it before we've heard what's going on. But we need to be slow to speak and slow to anger. For the anger of humans does not produce the righteousness of God. And it may be a few weeks for my next video, but I'm very happy to leave with that message. To listen to your family, your friends, your loved ones, and your enemies. And try to understand and empathize with what they're going through before you judge and assess if they're right or wrong. In any case, I hope this video finds you well and that everything is going well with you. Blessings.